So would you use this today?
It's great.
You would?
Yeah, it's great. I don't know. Why not?
Meow! Huples cat and kitty cat. This video is going to talk about what 1960s first aid was for a nuclear explosion. A mass casualty event, if you like. And what we think of the kit. Ooh, what kit?
This kit.
So stay tuned, let's examine what's in this kit. It has a logo on it. Kitty's not old enough to remember this logo, but this logo is Canada CD, Canada Civil Defence. At one time, the Canadian government did feel that they would help to protect us all in the event of war. This is the first aid part. Quite a nice little backpack, isn't it?
That's gorgeous, yeah. It's very nostalgic, isn't it?
This could be a kitty purse.
It could be.
So first thing with this kit, you've got two side pockets. The first side pocket is absolutely empty, and this side pocket is absolutely brilliant because in the event of a mass casualty, me and Kitty can grab this bag and you can put on an armband and let everybody know that you are a certified Health Canada specialist. And there is 4, so you'd have a couple of stretcher bearers, 3 stretcher bearers, a couple of people helping maybe. Or you could put one on both arms, so you can be wearing civilian clothes like this. And now I'm ready to save lives. Now the kit's pretty old. This is actually in really great nick.
Unused from 1961, isn't it?
We think it's 61, but it could be 62. We will find out because we're going to open the whole kit. And we are going to do something I haven't seen online. We're going to open them and use parts of this kit, aren't we, Kitty? Because Kitty and myself are retired nurses. Kitty is more the practical nurse in the ICU. I was more sitting around telling people no. So inside the kit there is a piece of paper. Now in 1993 this was rechecked and restocked, and some things were added and some things were removed. For this particular kit, and you'll see other kits online, this doesn't have any eye gel in it at all. They just removed that. That was for burns, flash burns. They could put a bit of painkiller on the eye. There is no analgesia in here. There's 15 of these army shell dressings.
These are quite cool because the wrapping that they come in is not paper. It's a waterproof material that you could actually use on the outside of the dressing if you needed to keep it dry. Very cool. Let's see how it opens.
So when was yours manufactured?
1961.
Mine was also manufactured in 1961 in the great city of Toronto. And there's 15 of these. They're pretty bulky. I guess this was kind of the Israeli bandage of the day. So anyway, Kitty's going to open it, and we're going to do this slowly and edit this quite a bit because none of us know how to deal with this. But it tells you to rip it open here.
I think there's 2 little tear spots that you just tear it across like that. And then we have a wrapped bandage.
So this could be then ripped like this to provide a waterproof covering for that.
You could even use that to tie it.
And you could even use this to tie it. Now there is no tape in this kit, which is a modern thing you would definitely get. You would definitely get tape in the kit.
It says tie at the end, so I'm not sure how these are structured.
Okay, so this has got paper on it, and it's kind of like a little origami package.
Yeah.
Okay, so the paper's falling apart, so I'm not sure
Yeah.
that.
And it looks like, I don't know if it's discolored or that's the color that the dressing is supposed to be.
We're not convinced that this isn't discoloured. I think this is actually the colour it's supposed to be.
Orange?
Yeah. Now you should be able to open this in a way that doesn't contaminate it. Okay. So, did you want to have a go, Kitty? I'm a casualty. My arm's boo-booed.
This is how it appears inside. So these things could be used to secure it on the arm and to tie it together onto, or head, or wherever it is you're putting it. It's like triple layered, like a sandwich here. So you could use it full thickness, depending on the size of the wound, or there's little ties that you could cut and presumably it would open out, so it could be a wrap around a thigh or it could be wrap around a bigger wound. And we don't know whether this was the original color or if it's discolored since 1961. Anyway, so if I was going to use it full size, obviously you could just lay it over his wounded wrists and you could use these ties to secure it with as much tightness as you thought you needed. So you could make it quite tight
That's quite
if it needed
tight.
some tourniqueting. This gives you some leverage. So it's not like a tourniquet, but it could work to slow bleeding.
So would you use this today?
It's great.
You would?
Yeah, it's great. I don't know, why not? If it's certainly clean, if not 100% sterile, because it's been in there a long time. But I can't see why, if this is what I had, I wouldn't use it. It's got some pluses. In modern times, in hospitals, we usually have 2 or 3 pieces to get this kind of thing. So putting it all together like this, you know, we'd have a cling, we'd have tape, whereas you can just tie this. We'd have little things perhaps to fasten it. So this is all that in one. Instead of having 3 different things you have to open, this is
Fast
ready
as
to
well,
go
right?
for a variety of wounds. This could be used for a head wound, right? Like you could secure that. There's enough ties that you could secure it around.
Yeah. And the great thing about
head
this
wound.
is you can actually just put another one of these on top if this starts to bleed through. You don't have to
Yeah,
remove
and
the
I
other
do
layer.
like that you can. This is pretty.
Yeah,
this is
this
pretty
is
fun
very-
tying. I'm
yeah.
sure I look lovely.
This is huge.
That you could tie it quite tightly.
Yeah, this is
secure it
huge.
quite tightly. So yeah, it's a great bandage.
So we now have 14 of these left. The 15th, which we opened, I'm actually going to put back in its little packaging and put it together because it would be useful as a non-clean pressure dressing in the event of an accident.
For sure.
I'm very impressed with this.
Yeah, no, it's great. You could use it on a pet.
Where is
The
it?
Wolfie might bite you. Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's really good.
So
It
you could
was
do this if
cleverly
you're
designed.
in wet conditions or radiation conditions and you want to make sure nothing gets into the wound itself. Put this on and then put this on the top of it, and then you've got so much of this you would have no trouble covering it up.
Where it keeps some of the leakage in.
And if you do break the black ties, which you can easily do by hand, what we now
You have a very nice large dressing.
is a huge dressing that will go around Kitty's entire head.
Like a party hat.
Good, eh? Not good though, eh?
That's good. Like, I don't know about the color. Like, why would it be discolored that color? It's pretty distinctly orange.
The gauze is orange, but if you look at it closely, you won't be able to see this on camera. There's actually white gauze, normal hospital white gauze that's clean underneath the orange.
They're really quite clever, aren't they? Yeah, I wouldn't mind having a basket of that around to
Well, you got it
dress
now.
a wound.
You
Yeah,
have
it's
it
good.
now.
Yeah, that's good. I seriously think it's good.
That is superior.
I mean, I don't know what field packs that they make now would have. Obviously, it's not what I'd get in the hospital because we can have
Right.
6 different things that we access, whereas you'd want it all together in a military setting.
Well, the only one I know about is the Israeli bandage, and that's quite complicated, and it isn't very thick gauze, and this is much thicker. Now, you wouldn't be able to get as much pressure on it, but you can put enough pressure on this in the field to slow the bleeding significantly.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So, Kitty, have another look in this side, see what we get. I've removed the shell bandages only. Aha, what's that?
It's field medical.
Kitty was not an emerge nurse, Kitty was an ICU nurse. Any emerge nurse would look at this and immediately tell you what these are. These are triage tags.
Right. Oh, it's a
20 of
triage
them.
tag.
Yeah, with wire to attach them to the person's clothing, and it tells you a lot of information on this. Each card tells you, so you've got 20 people you can treat.
Yeah, name, service number, rank, diagnosis, treatment, disposition, place where you can draw where they're wounded.
So we've emptied most of it, and now there is 3 special things, so actually 6 special things, which Kitty is now going to pull out and look at. These we could open them, but I'm not going to, though I'd like to.
I don't think you need to. A triangular compressed bandage.
Yeah, these are heavy, notice? So these actually have a pad inside the triangular bandage attached to it. They're similar to the shell dressing, so you can use this as a wound dressing as well as just a sling.
Right, makes sense.
And there is 6 of them, 2 in each packet. So I'm guessing looking at the packaging, I'm guessing these were added in 1993. That's my guess.
Well, they're in plastic.
There is no date.
No, there is no date, so these could be newer.
What will Kitty find now?
Scissors. Stretcher bearer scissors.
All emergency kits should have decent scissors and shears. Let's have a look at the modern versus the... Oh. So there's wax paper on it. And most people would leave the wax paper on. You can take it off if you wish.
Do you want me to?
Well, do you want it?
I don't need to. They're very solid handled. I like this.
Lanyard.
You can just wear it on your belt or wear it tucked in. You can leave this wrapped around it.
Or take
Whatever
it off
you
easily.
like. Or take it off and just have them free. You don't lose them. You don't lose them.
This is the modern one.
Oh.
These are way heavier.
This weighs nothing. That weight is substantial.
Bigger blade.
Bigger blade.
Bigger blade, weighs a lot. And you could probably use this as a weapon.
I think it's very cool. Feels like something out of a museum.
It is something out of a museum.
A little time capsule.
Yes, your dad's tax money paid for this when he was in his 30s. Your dad's going to be 91 next week. So if this kit was from 1962, that would make it now 62 years of age. And considering this kit is 62 years of age, I'm quite stunned at how good this stuff is. Now bear in mind it was opened and checked in 1993, and I'm pretty sure they added in the modern version of the triangular bandage at that time. But a lot of this stuff to me looks like original and old. Ta-da! What are we going to find now? A box of treats.
A box of gauze bandages. 4" by 6 yards.
Now, what's that in
One
meters?
dozen.
What's that in meters?
I don't know. It's fairly long.
Americans, help us out. So you should have 12 of these.
I do, yes.
You do?
Well, that's what it says. 1 dozen.
Alright, so it's cardboard box. This again is by the Kendall Company in Toronto, but there is no date on it, and it is sterilised, which you mostly don't need to use with cling unless you're packing wounds, and I'm not sure they'd be packing wounds in the first casualties of a nuclear war. So that's what's inside. They are fairly big. They are again not listed on a date on them, but we're fairly sure we know what these look like. And
they're so cute.
isn't it?
They're very cute.
It's like something Granny Nurse would have used.
Yeah.
Open it up.
Oh, you want me to open it?
Yeah, I do.
Lovely.
So that's opening. It's supposed to be sterile inside, so you could use it for wound packing, but I can't imagine you would. I certainly wouldn't use 60-year-old equipment.
Well, usually with a mesh, you'd rather have a gauze underneath it because it's not going to be very absorptive. But it's a different texture than what I am used to altogether. It is a different texture. But it's a great for it's more for a wrapping.
It's more like linen, isn't it?
Feels a bit like linen. Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to be absorptive, it's just going to be for tying things on. So,
and I see something with this one that's way superior to the modern
It's very
versions.
long.
It has a core in it with the hole in it, so this is solid and stable. So with most modern ones, they fall apart very quickly. This is solid. A plus.
Yeah,
Definitely, I would use this.
Very good.
And again, I'm going to reuse this. I'm not going to throw it away. And if we have mass casualties, I will happily use this.
For sure. Especially because, like you say, that wouldn't necessarily be right against the wound.
But that's not all. There are a couple of things still in here, and we have to find them. Ta-da! This is kind of cute.
Pencil for writing our triage stuff down. I guess that makes sense. So this is a different kind of pencil, a different kind of marker that I guess you'd use on casualties.
You won't know this because
It's lip liner, I think.
you're modern, but anybody who isn't modern would recognise this and would immediately say, oh, this is called a grease pencil. And the reason it's called a grease pencil is because the dye is mixed up with fat and you can mark on skin. And is that all? Is that all we have?
I don't know.
No. The bag has 2 compartments, but it also has 2 side pockets. There's one here, which is very small, but you can maybe fit a couple of ampules of painkiller in there. And the other one is fairly big, and what's inside here is the last thing, unfortunately.
Ah, well, that's useful, isn't it? Pins.
Safety
Safety
pins.
pins. You need it for all that gauze, for all the things you're wrapping up, just to secure them so you don't have to tie things necessarily. You can pin them.
And how many are there?
12, a dozen. There's a dozen.
There's a dozen. And we have 6 triangular bandages, so there'll be 2 safety pins per triangular bandage.
Perfect.
But I don't think the triangular bandage has the safety pins with it. Could be wrong. So Kitty, how would you feel about using this kit in an actual nuclear war event?
It's great for simple things. You know, you don't have anything to clean a wound. Don't have any analgesic, which is probably very important in those situations. You don't have any saline. You don't have things like that. Getting something contained cleanly and getting people ready to move to where they might be able to get better support. It's a good bag. Or you could simply customize it and add some things of your own.
So as Kitty mentioned, saline should be in every first aid kit. Very useful for cleaning out eye injuries or actually cleaning deep wounds out. You want to make sure there's no needles on the saline syringes. These are specially designed for wound irrigation, not for IV use, but for wound cleaning. And these will last for quite some time. In the 1960s, they didn't think about doing this, so they just used cold water. They didn't think about irrigation to the same level that we do now, I don't think. But there's one thing missing in this kit that I think I would like to have if the bomb's gone off. Can you think what it is? Face masks! Preferably an N95, but you can get away with surgical masks if you need them. There's probably be a lot of dust and even asbestos in the big cities floating around. There's also going to be something called radioactive fallout floating around. So an N95 on your face will prevent you infecting people's wounds. It will also hopefully protect you from inhaling radiation material.
Gloves.
Disposable gloves. Now in a nuclear war environment I would suggest you keep them, wash them, reuse them, because there's not going to be many supplies, are you?
No, and you know, I think it's a modern thing, but we know why we need gloves.
Right.
Protect us, to protect the patient. They're a good thing to have all around.
And in terms of everything, what you might want to do in a nuclear war situation is have a nice pair of well-fitted gloves that you just use all day long, and then wash them and use them. So you use them from casualty to casualty, because you won't actually have the gear to actually take the gloves off between each casualty. And then the priority at that point would be to protect yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, ideally, at least if you could even wash your hands with the gloves on between patients, that's better than nothing.
Now this card actually suggests you give morphine and tetanus to everybody, which is probably quite common. And tetanus might be difficult, basically due to the fact it needs usually to be refrigerated. Morphine would be problematic because of the Controlled Drug Acts. Actually getting a hold of it and distributing it would be difficult.
Yes, it'd be very hard. It would have been impossible to put in civilian packs. It certainly would be now anyway, just because of abuse. I don't know, I assume in the 60s the same thing.
Right, and if we're going to go to war, hopefully the government will go okay and start distributing vials of morphine widely to the population, purely because without painkillers it's kind of a horrible death.
It is.
And that leads to the other question is, and I wanted to ask you this, and I'm putting a bit on the spot, when you come across a mass casualty event that is part of an ongoing series of mass casualty events across North America because it's a war situation. In other words, help isn't coming. The hospitals have been damaged downtown or destroyed. When would you not treat, and when would you treat? When would you use this kit on somebody, and when would you say, I'm walking by?
Well, I mean, I guess you have to make a terrible decision on who you think is salvageable, and if they're not going to have access to
healthcare,
you know, modern healthcare, are their wounds too severe? Is it a gaping abdominal wound with, you know, an impossibility of survival? Even if they could survive that night, maybe they probably won't survive any further. Mm-hmm. Then you should probably move on. You should kind of invert the way we usually triage to some extent, and treat the people you think have a chance.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and this kit used to treat flash burns, and because people looking at the fireball, they would have burn injuries and maybe blind temporarily. And I think it's a good idea to be able to flush eyes with saline, put some painkilling drops in if you have access to them, and wrap the eye and all the rest of it. But realistically, in a nuclear war scenario, unless that person's got somebody you can see who's dedicated to stay with them and look after them, you as the first responder don't really want to get involved with this newly blind person, especially if there's lots of them, because you're going to have to help them find water, find food, find rest. You will have to help them for a period of days to weeks when you probably need to survive yourself, and there's other casualties. So even little things like that, it's just temporary flash blindness, could end up being terminal.
For sure. There's some risk in identifying yourself in any way as a caregiver, because you're going to get swamped with people in need, and it's going to be very difficult to function.
If every nurse has been given one of these kits and has gone home with it, then yeah, that's probably a reasonable thing to do. But they haven't in the modern era, and I don't think they will be doing that in the modern era. We don't bother to protect the population anymore because of the horror of the nuclear war. There's nothing we can be doing about it, except that's not true, because certainly our leaders and our very rich, definitely they're doing a lot of things to try and protect themselves from the horror of a nuclear war.
Well, I mean, I think also this comes out of an era that had just been involved in a world war, two, I guess, technically.
Total war.
So the expectation of possibly needing that was more in the common mind than it is now. We don't particularly expect to be attacked or to have mass casualties, except for weather disasters, things like that we have now.
So they're discreet. They might overwhelm people in the local town,
but they won't overwhelm the
country.
Healthcare system typically. And so
ambulances and helicopters can arrive and pull people out to where there's nothing damaged and there's lots of people and lots of equipment. That would not be true in a mass war situation.
No, of course not. And if we actually think one's impending, who knows, something like this might be back in place.
Yeah, well, we're set up for it.
We've got the open.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Doodles.
Bye.
This has been a 2024 well-prepared Terrier production.